Today, we're going to pry open a real psychological puzzle box, Harold Pinter's absolute masterpiece, The Birthday Party. Seriously, this is a play that just completely rewrote the rules of drama, all by turning a simple, everyday living space into a laboratory of fear.
No, really, think about it for a second. What's your nightmare scenario? Is it just awkward small talk, awful music? Or maybe it's that one guest you were desperately hoping wouldn't show up. We've all been to a party we wished we could escape from, right?
Well, Pinter takes that feeling and just cranks it up into a full-blown existential nightmare. See, he understood that real terror doesn't always arrive with a huge explosion. Sometimes it just arrives with a visitor you weren't expecting, threatening to turn your one safe space into a prison.
Okay, so let's meet the so-called guest of honor at this very, very unwanted party. And let's take a look at the grim little world he's been hiding in.
Pinter knew this world inside and out. I mean, before he was this world-famous playwright, he was an actor, touring the country and living in exactly these kinds of damp, miserable boarding houses. So he fills the play with the smell of stale cornflakes and burnt toast. You can almost feel it. It makes the oppressive atmosphere feel completely, horribly real.
And hiding out in this sad little refuge is our guy, Stanley Weber. He's our protagonist, if you can call him that. He's a washed-up pianist, kind of the classic artist in exile. He's paranoid, he's messy, and he is a total nonconformist. He's clearly run away from something. And this grim little house, it's his last resort. It's his final sanctuary. But as we all know, in a Pinter play, no sanctuary ever lasts for long. The outside world is always waiting to break down the door. And here they are, Goldberg and McCann. Now, these aren't just two random guys. You can think of them as two sides of the same terrifying coin. Goldberg is the smooth operator, the smiling face of institutional power. He's charming, he's nostalgic, and he is utterly ruthless. And then you've got McCann. He's the muscle, the silent, dogmatic enforcer. Together, they are the complete apparatus of control. So you have to be asking, what on earth did Stanley do to deserve a visit from these two? Did he betray some organization, a secret society, a political party? Well, here's the thing. We never find out. And Pinter does this on purpose. By leaving the crime unnamed, he makes the threat universal. Because if we don't know what the charge is, well, then any of us could be guilty, right? So this brings us to Pinter's totally unique style. He basically invented a new theatrical language to explore these kinds of fears. So let's open up his toolbox and look at how he built his signature architecture of anxiety. First up is this thing critics call the comedy of Menace. Pinter gets you laughing at these bizarre, absurd conversations. You're chuckling at how weird it all is, and then bam, the whole mood shifts on a dime. The laughter just catches in your throat because you suddenly realize this isn't just awkward. It's a matter of psychological life and death. And then, of course, there's his most famous weapon, the Pinter pause. Now, this isn't just an actor forgetting a line. A pause is a battle. It's this moment of intense, silent warfare, where a character's lie or their whole strategy has just fallen apart, and they are desperately scrambling to get back in control. And you gotta understand, Pinter is incredibly precise with his words. A pause in his script is like a tactical retreat. It's a moment to regroup. But a silence is total surrender. That's the moment when all the masks come off and a character is left completely naked and vulnerable to whatever's coming next. All of these tools come crashing together in the play's climax, the birthday party itself. A ritual that's supposed to celebrate life becomes this terrifying ceremony for completely destroying it. Yeah, forget cake and candles. The main event at this party is a brutal interrogation. Goldberg and McCann just unleash this machine gun-like torrent of questions and nonsense. They're using words not to communicate, but as a physical weapon to shatter Stanley's entire sense of reality. It all starts with something that almost sounds like a joke, right? Something totally nonsensical. But this is just the opening shot in a full-blown linguistic assault. Then it just swerves into this purely abstract, illogical territory. I mean, there's no right answer to that. The questions aren't meant to be answered. They're meant to completely overwhelm him. They just bombard him from all sides with these rapid-fire, baffling questions until language itself just breaks down, leaving Stanley with absolutely no defense. Honestly, it feels less like a conversation and more like a physical beating. And look at this.
Pinter even turns everyday objects into instruments of torture. That toy drum they give Stanley as a pathetic gift, it becomes a symbol for his artistic soul, which they beat and silence. They break his glasses, literally and symbolically shattering his vision, his ability to make sense of the world. And McCann just methodically tears a newspaper into perfect strips, a chilling destruction of order, of information, of history itself.
So, after the worst birthday party of all time, what's left? Well, this is where the play's deeper political meaning becomes crystal clear. This table breaks it down perfectly. Stanley is the individual, the free-thinking artist who doesn't conform. Goldberg and McCann, they're the enforcers of the authoritarian state. And that so-called birthday party, it's the ritual they use to execute his identity and drag him back into line. And that, right there, is the true horror of the ending. Stanley isn't dead. In a way, what happens is so much worse. The messy, rebellious artist we met has been scrubbed clean. They put him in a suit and turn him into this mute, compliant drone. They didn't kill the man, but they absolutely executed the artist inside of him.
And you know, this wasn't just some abstract idea for Pinter. Much later in his life, in his Nobel Prize lecture, he drew a direct line from the menace in his plays to global politics. He argued that modern political language is often just a stratagem of hypnosis, used just like Goldberg's charming speeches to distract us while power does its brutal work.
This really was Pinter's lifelong mission statement. He believed that the job of an artist isn't to make us feel comfortable, it's to disturb us, to pull back the curtain on the polite lies we tell ourselves and expose the terrifying truth hiding underneath. And that really leaves us with one final haunting thought. This play forces us to question the very words we use every single day. Pinter shows us just how easily the language of a party, of a friendly chat, can be twisted into a weapon. And that's a question worth thinking about long after the curtain falls.